First question. You're both Republicans. The Lewis County Republican Party has endorsed Christina Riley. So I will ask Christina why you're opposing a fellow Republican, and I will ask Lindsey why you believe you did not receive the endorsement of the county party. And I'll ask Christina to go first.
All right. So in my efforts to run for county commissioner, it was not necessarily decided upon what party the incumbent was, but it was about the work being done by the position, by the incumbent. So when I chose to run for county commissioner, I took in thought and process of the work that I was seeing done in my community by the incumbent. And so, you know, to have the endorsement by the Lewis County Republican Party certainly gave me a lot of empowerment to you know, take this journey on, because I'm a resident and this is my home, and the work that is done is very important to me. So I was very grateful for the support by the party, and knowing that the work and goals and pieces that our daily lives connect with are aligned, and to be able to showcase that as county commissioner in that role, and so be able to take that ball with pride and compassion, and be able to be the voice of the party and of the constituents that are with the party, I think is really important, and an honor that I carry very close.
Thank you. Lindsey?
Sure. Yes. So there's the question about the endorsement. That was a little closer to the mic. Pardon me. Is that better? All right, thank you very much. So the question about the party endorsement, and there was an issue last year where there was some question about whether or not I had sort of impugned the name of some of the executive board. It was a concern about protests against a business in Chehalis that was associated with some interest. There was a very small group of the PCOs who met on the 3rd of July, on a day that I could not be there, to have a discussion about it, and there was a vote to censure me at that point. So that made me ineligible for endorsement. However, I think it has been abundantly clear from the work that I've done from the past 4 years that I am a very, very dedicated fiscal conservative. In fact, I did not vote for this year's budget because it was set to be $3.1 million in the hole, which is not to the benefit of all of us. I think we needed to do more work on that. Then the other portion is that I am very strongly opposed to government intervention in people's private lives. And those are basically central tenets of being a Republican: limited government and living within your means.
All right, thank you. This question will start with you, Lindsey. The county continues to work on the creation of a night-by-night homeless shelter in Chehalis. As county commissioner, what additional actions would you take to address homelessness in Lewis County?
So the good news with the shelter is that we're now to the point of just the fine details and construction and working with the city of Chehalis. Fortunately, we have a great partnership there. Going forward with homelessness, one of the fundamental issues we have is infrastructure. And what I've done to that end is helped steer 0.09 funding with tax dollars to be able to complete the Bishop Road water loop, as well as put money towards the Jefferson Street lift station in Napavine, which will open up significant acreage to be able to put more homes, both multifamily and also single-family housing. Another aspect of homelessness that I think we can all understand is our opioid epidemic. I have worked to address that by the upstream effects by providing a counselor at the Youth Advocacy Center, and that is funded through opioid dollars, to be able to take children who have suffered trauma and connect them with resources in order to be able to hopefully prevent them from self-medicating for their pain down the road.
Christina?
So I think that this issue is far larger than looking at a shelter. Recently we saw at the county commissioners board a needle exchange program, and I think that when you look at homelessness and addiction, they go hand in hand, and a lot of that goes to mental health services that are not provided at a widespread area in Lewis County. You have to travel far into our more larger population areas to be able to get services, and to be able to get that transportation can be very challenging. And so we have a lot of barriers, and I think one of the things that we need to do as a board is to hold our partners accountable to audit their abilities to take on the roles that they are doing and make sure that they're serving the citizens of Lewis County, and that they're being very fiscally responsible with the funds that they have, so that every dollar that we get goes as far as it possibly can. Because at the end of the day, it's individual lives that are at the most important piece of it. So are those lives being changed? Are they getting opportunities to get back into society? Are they being held up in every possible way? Are there resources for employment and mental health and physical health and transportation? Is all of that easy? Because we're talking about folks who are really challenged in having conversations, challenged to follow the steps that they need to be able to be successful, because it's overwhelming and it's not very well laid out for the folks that need it. So I would hold folks accountable and see how we can strategically use the funds much more responsibly.
Thank you. A proposal for a green hydrogen plant in Lewis County took a hit with the recent announcement the company Fortescue was halting plants locally. What industry and sector should Lewis County focus on to create economic development, and what will be the indicators that efforts are succeeding? Christina.
Yeah, so workforce development and opportunity are something that I'm very passionate about. I think giving somebody an opportunity and a pathway into being able to sustain a lifestyle that they are wanting for their family and for themselves is really important. And so we're really fortunate here in Lewis County to have the Economic Alliance here, who is out there working really diligently to recruit industries in our Pacific Mountain region Workforce Development Council as well, where I sit on that board as the secretary. We have a lot of data and information that shows where jobs should be created, and part of that is advanced manufacturing. We have the ability to train our folks here locally, whether it's in the high school at our beautiful college here, but we have the ability to build a workforce. All we have to recruit is the developer and the manufacturer. And if you look nationally, I mean, just down south from us is one of the manufacturing hubs of the United States in Clark County. So why we can't possibly look at that as an opportunity here, there's no reason. So I think that that's one area where we can look for growth and opportunity and lead to some family wage jobs right here at home.
Lindsey, just to repeat, what industry sectors should Lewis County look to create economic development, and what will be the indicators that those efforts are succeeding?
So I would argue that it is not the government's job to create jobs. The government is here to be able to provide a very, very basic infrastructure for everybody to have jobs, or to be able to create jobs. And so by focusing on our basic infrastructure, having roads, bridges, water available, the businesses will come. Because as we see, most of the things that have been successful here are these small homegrown businesses that then become larger businesses and be able to employ more and more folks. And they are resilient to economic changes because they don't become these huge behemoths that are taken out in one fell swoop, such as what happened with our forest industry and those issues. What we are going to see as we provide that basic infrastructure of a safe, a area to raise families, an opportunity for education with this facility right here, where we have options for both formal in-class education and then also focusing on our ability to utilize apprenticeships programs. I even do that in my own clinic, where We have training programs to become a licensed veterinary technician. Those are the things that are going to be where Lewis County is able to thrive, because we know how to work. We can do this. And the indicators are going to be a gradual climb out of where you're going to see folks that are just happy, enjoying being here. We're going to see less students that are going to need to rely on government subsidies in order to have lunch programs. You're going to see an increase in our health benefits. We're going to have a healthier population that lives longer. So thank you for that opportunity.
Rebuttal from Christina Riley in 1 minute.
I would like to share that it is in my belief that the county commissioners are the direct tool to bring opportunity to the county. Lewis County continues to grow in unemployment numbers. We are a point higher than we were last year at this time at 5%. Our counties to the north and the south continue to work, and we struggle. We have higher poverty levels than most of the state, and we have an even higher level of folks that are called the Atlas population, which are the working poor, people that just meet over the federal level of poverty, which is $24,000. We as county commissioners can incentivize businesses to come. We can make it an area where growth is actually able to take place because we are kind to businesses and we are willing to work with them to their needs. We haven't seen economic growth in a large fashion to put Lewis County back to work.
That's time. All right. This next question will start with Lindsey and then go to Christina. The county implemented regulations for needle exchanges earlier this year. Do you support that move? And what is the top public health issue facing the county?
So the needle exchange program has cost us about $3,000 to date and has made no changes other than increasing government oversight. The interesting thing is that I was at an opioid summit here recently, and one of the particular things that was outlawed by the needle exchange program, test strips for fentanyl and xylazine, is actually available here because it is a government requirement in order to have those services available. So, being out of compliance at the state level, I still question whether that may be an issue for us. Top public health issue, I would say, in Lewis County at this point in time, probably obesity, quite frankly. Many of us struggle with that. And that is a sad situation given the fact that we are an agricultural county. We should have good access to fresh food and the knowledge of how to cook it, serve it, and utilize it to be healthy. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the health care you want available. You can have the government saying whatever you want, or you should do this, that, and the other. But you need to eat well and be with family. Those are the things that are going to, those are the major public health issues that is going to show us.
Thank you, Christina.
I really appreciate the efforts with the needle exchange policy. I think it's really important that the services that we provide have tangible outcomes. And just because something is taking place doesn't mean that it's working and that it shouldn't have some sort of capacity to showcase the data that the work is being done and that it is actually improving the lives. And so to be able to do that, even though it doesn't actually take place until next year where we'll be able to gather that information and see the changes, I think it's something that's really important. And when we look to the counties that started those programs, like King County, you can see where that program has not benefited the neighborhoods in King County. So I believe that one of the largest issues that we have here is mental health crisis, and I will highlight some of the hardest points, and that is suicide in our county. It is relatively high, and it is really staggering the amount of children that have lost their lives by suicide. And so whether that is because of what took place during the pandemic or not, that is an area where we as a county have to really dig deep and make sure that everything that we can possibly do is available. I work very closely with our veteran population, our Native American population, and even folks in construction to make sure that suicide prevention is a part of their lives and that they know that the resources are there and how to get them, and that folks, parents, and others know how to start that conversation to make sure that we have the resources, the conversations, and the next steps to lift people up and make sure that they're here tomorrow, because they are very important.
All right, what is the #1 challenge facing Lewis County? What could you do to help address that problem in the next 4 years as the Lewis County Commissioner? Christina?
I think that we have more than one really large problem, so it's hard to pick the key piece, but I think that as a county, our budget is really a challenge. We need to bring in resources and economic arm to us so that we're not just taxing citizens. At this point, our budget is not strong, and we want to be able to provide as many services through our different departments as possible. I think another piece to that is looking at accountability within those departments. Are we utilizing our staff and their resources to the best ability to our citizens? I think Tansey's a great example of going out and knocking doors. I talked to a lot of people who are very frustrated at the lack of accountability from the counties on some of these basic, needs that we have. And, looking at, again, it all circles back to what are we doing to bring economy here? And it is one of those things where, yes, jobs are a part of that, workforce is a part of that, but being able to boost our budget as the county is also a part of that.
It's the same question.
Yes, and it is no secret that we are in the red on the budget. And so, again, being able to look through and take a very, very targeted approach. And that is something that takes some time to be able to become familiar with the different departments, how they utilize their budget, and where things go. One of the biggest places that we have to look at is the middle management area of the county. And I look forward to seeing how that goes as we come into the budget season and what the different offices propose to us with those in regards to that. The other portion is, how do you address the revenue side of the program? One of the huge things that we have lost in this county is timber revenue. DNR has basically been not helpful in being able to get timber harvested. We also have the aspect of our national forest portion, basically the east third of our county, is also not properly managed in terms of reducing fire load. If we can get back to being able to utilize our timberlands responsibly, that is going to do a significant amount of good for our budget and will not affect the pocketbooks of the average Lewis County citizen. And we have an opportunity at this point in time with a new public lands commissioner. Hopefully that will be Jamie Hurd or Butler. I think we can work there to be able to improve the quality of life in Lewis County.
Thank you. Now we have time for some questions from the audience. We'll give you each a chance to answer your question, and I'd like you to do that in 1 minute if you can.
Thank you, Mr. Granville. I'd like to address this with Commissioner Pollock. I have a concern if you kind of had selective memory loss when we talked about the censorship and why that happened. I'd like to bring that to the attention of everyone here, that you misdirected the event as being a small event. It was the McFilers event where you supported and continue to support the transgender drag show where we had 13-year-olds who were welcome to access that without parental permission. You also then took our constitutional right to be several blocks up from that event and asking to sign a form exercising our First Amendment rights quietly and away from the event, seeking parental rights. You continue to do so.
Is there a question?
I'm coming to that right now. My question to you is, how do you continue to support families while continuing to defend the needless change is a bad thing, continuing to defend calling the Republican Party Nazis, continuing to alienate people while not doing the research. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that, please.
Thank you. Actually, I have not done those things. I'm not defending the needle exchange program. I have not made any statement one way or another about drag shows. I haven't been to one personally, so I would not have the ability to even comment on that. I do support a business being able to do what they are legally allowed to do. 100% support parental rights. If a parent wants to take their children to an event that is legal for them to take them to, great. If they don't want to, that is also their right to do so. And it is 100% the citizens' rights to be able to collect signatures on petitions.
Christine, do you have anything to add on this question?
I will just say that I appreciate all the time and efforts of the folks that were gathering the signatures down the road for the parental rights bill. That bill was very important as a parent of young children to have individuals in our community giving up a weekend to ensure that that made it into legislation and on ballots or whatnot as an initiative was really important. And for me, that's somewhere where it's important to stand up for families. And one of the things that I love about our county so much is that our families come first. And so I want to just share that.
Another question?
Thank you. My name is Frank Corbin, and I wear multiple hats, but this is going to be another broadband question. But I did want to make a quick point. Christine, I didn't quite hear a particular industry that you were trying to bring in to Lewis County, and so then that segues into my broadband question to both of you. With Lewis County being involved in a broadband partnership with Toledo Tel, it is a great example, in my opinion, of a public-private partnership in which the two major sources of industry can work together to achieve a common purpose for the benefit of its citizens. If another opportunity came for Lewis County to partner with a private entity to bring a business, whether it's broadband technology, whatever, another industry, with Lewis County, would you, as a commissioner, be willing to support another public partnership, even though it results in a use of staff time and resources for the county?
So to address your first question, I said advanced manufacturing as the industry. So that is a lot of different things, whether you're looking at pieces for airplanes or for your devices or for farm equipment. Manufacturing covers a very wide range of opportunities and occupations. So to your next question, I think that is a very beautiful partnership where the residents in Lewis County are the ones who really get the opportunity of the benefit, whether it's broadband expansion, which I've been a huge fan of as somebody who, through the pandemic had children trying to learn from Zoom and run a business from Zoom using satellite internet. I am really excited to see that line coming through my yard. I think that if the opportunity is right and it makes sense, giving more options for people really kind of tells you where the price point is. So getting more providers to be able to bring that to us as consumers is definitely important. And not knowing what industry you might speak of, it's hard to answer your question, but I think that I definitely believe in reviewing and collaborating where it makes sense.
Lindsey, would you like to respond?
So we do have the program through the county with the partnership with Toledo Tel and putting in fiber. Going forward, yes, whatever we can do to deliver internet to folks and the opportunity to do so, I am very pleased with what the PUD is doing as well. I believe their cost per connection is much lower. So we need to evaluate as projects going forward, what is the most cost-effective thing for the taxpayer dollar? And if that is a program through the county, we let's look at it. And if that is a program through the PUD, there's no use fighting them for it. We need to work together.
And last question.
I was just going to ask what your definition as a behavioral health advisor to the commissioners, as well as City of Chehalis Council Cable, what is your definition of trauma-informed care across the board on whether it be suicide rates with kids, elected officials, anybody else? You can touch on any, but your real definition on trauma-informed care, please.
We have discovered that a fundamental aspect of even our drug problem is that it is related to underlying trauma. And so until we actually get to that, in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion, we are going to continue to see horrific problems with drug use, suicide, and other mental health issues. It can be as simple as folks not being able to get to work on time and they end up unemployed. And so if we can do a much better job of focusing on addressing that underlying trauma through our mental health system, that is going to pay off in incredible dividends in health in our county.
So I actually have a background in being able to learn firsthand from historical trauma. So I worked across the nation with tribal reservations, and you see very systemically the barriers that are present in today based on historical trauma that's taken generations, right? And so I think that one of the things that, looking at best practices, what are the resources? All of it has to align and it has to make sense. And each individual is very different in their journey. So being able to align those resources that are available and to be able to work through that one step at a time. So, part of that is the actual counseling, figuring out where to go from there, making sure that there are addiction services available, that there's employability, skills training, advocacy. There's also a huge population of folks who are disabled that also struggle with a lot of these services, and looking at our veteran population being a part of that. So I think that it's a very large issue. We know that, and there's a lot of steps in it.
That's tough.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being with us this evening. We appreciate it.